Hello, everybody, and welcome to another multi-dimensional soul with myself, Gary from Alternative Interactions, and
Robert Lomax.
thank you very much, Robert. Um, Today first of all, we did the contact video last week, came out this week or last week. Q&A questions. We've had a massive response. And what we're going to do, or I'm going to do, is I'm going to pick groups of questions and we'll probably do two, three shows from it at least. And other things that we do that come up, if it relates to a question, then obviously that links in as well. But we will be, or I will be going through the hundreds of questions. So thank you very much for your response. Massive, overwhelming almost for me. So there's a lot of work there. So we will be putting some questions in, and I think the next show we do will be a Q&A show without doubt. And then we might mix it up where we don't, and then we do some more Q&As. So thank you very much for everybody who's responded to that video. Really appreciate it. And yeah, great. And I don't think you've looked at too many of the questions, have you, Rob?
I did look at a couple towards the end, which I found very interesting. And I immediately started to pull in some answers, but to type up an answer is not quite the same thing as giving a verbal and physical explanation. So I haven't put thank you or like on any of those comments, unfortunately.
No, but that's a good thing because almost it's better if Robert sees them clean and clear and not had thought about them previously or had anything come in, so it's nice and fresh. So that's really good. Now, today we're going to talk about sleep and pre-chat as we always do. I tend to have a good old yarn before we start. Yarn is a Norfolk word for chat, everybody, by the way. Um, when we go to sleep, I think personally, this is me, we go somewhere else. And when we wake up, we come back into this reality. And for whatever reason, we do not remember what we do. I certainly have nights that I call black nights, where I'll go to sleep and I will not dream and it'll be nothing whatsoever. And I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be like, oh, okay. And I get the distinct impression I was very busy that night doing something or going somewhere on something that I'm not meant to remember, but I was really busy. And then I get other nights where I'll sleep and I'll have lots of little strange dreams or different dreams that don't relate. Had kind of a strange experience the other day. Was waking up from a dream that had only just come in. So I'd had a black night, and then I had a dream as I was obviously coming out of that deep sleep. And I'm kind of observing myself in this dream, which is a bit unusual. And as I come through to wake up, I could actually feel myself like traveling. It felt like a whoop, and suddenly, and I was like, I woke up and goes, wow, that was a really interesting experience. Never felt that before. I have actually in the past, when I've had a black night, woken up, and when I've actually woken up, probably disturbed in some way, I've actually hit the bed and the bed's gone bang, physically moved as I've woken up, as if my soul or something has come back in too fast because I was going to wake up without my consciousness being there. So really interesting, Robert. Now we're going to talk about sleep, and then Robert's going to express something about his life and a date and something he just got shown recently. And then we're going to talk about that again in what could potentially mean for sleep again. Okay. Almost a evolution of. So, Robert, sleep. Where do we go? What do we do? How does it work, please? And Antemidi or Alaka or whoever is going to come in your multi-self.
Actually, I've got three with me at the moment, including another gentleman, I'd call him a gentleman, called Alanador, a lovely um, character. So I've got three people interfacing with me at the moment. So one of the things about dreams is, sorry, one of the things about sleep is we immediately think about dreams. And we think about dreams as either being prophetic, uh, experiential, but in many ways, they're also to do with memory, how we remember what it is that we've encountered. In addition to prophetic dreams, of course, there is the work that you're doing in another dimension that you come back with as to what might appear to be a confused dream. And a lot of these are information about unconscious and subconscious thoughts. So that as you grow within your earth experience and you're looking at duality, you're looking at fears and other such concepts, things that you're encountering. These work themselves through, you work through them on these other realms, bring back into this realm information and the ability to understand what your subconscious is doing. For example, if you are in a running dream or you are running away from somebody, 9 times out of 10, the person that you are running away from is yourself. You might imagine it to be somebody else that you're afraid of or somebody else that's creating problems for you in your life, but it's fear and it's the way in which you are dealing with that fear. So what you're doing in sleep is working through your unconscious mind, trying to heal and grow during the daytime so that your daytime change of energies, so as you transmute the energies that you have created, you're then utilizing information that you've gained during your sleep. And this is one way in which to remember it, because there's an interface between the realms of sleep, if we call them that, and the experience here. I did recently, and this is Robert, and I say to Antimony, well, why can't I remember them? Why can't I remember these? And he said, well, first of all, it's to do with dimensional realities, the one that you're in. A lot of the things that you're talking about and a lot of things that you're doing just won't make any sense where you are. And in any event, if you were to live your life wholly to some of the things that you are doing there, not all of them, but some of them, then you would change your life experience. And knowing necessarily what is going to unfold will change the way in which you interpret things. And that kind of then leads into what we might then think about as prophetic dreams or an awareness of something that is to come. We've already talked about creation on these levels, that what you do in your daily life, what you do with the energy here is moving one brick from the same house, that real change comes from changing things on the etheric realms, that the holographic nature of your world is information and energy. If you change the information, you change the hologram, and the energy interacts with that information in a different way. So you actually change the hologram. So as humans, you have the ability to create different things by what you think. Now, at the moment, what you believe you can do, the corrupted programs of your earth that constrain you into what you believe you can do, limit you in how you can use source energy to use these creative levels to work them through on the daily levels, as it were, the daily consciousness. So looking at what is happening for a lot of people at this moment in time, we mentioned contact is here, and it's actually always been here. It's the awareness that you are. Now, to have an awareness that during your sleep, many of you are going to different realms, speaking with different humanoids, understanding yourself, the nature of your consciousness, other humanoids helping the transition of Earth at this stage, and you taking that information on board and changing your higher levels, if you want to put it that, or your higher light body, taking on board, creating and working within these etheric realms on a creative way, creating the change of the holograms. Not all of those holograms are changing at this moment in time, but they are gradually changing. So your earthly world, the politics, it's all involved at these etheric levels. And of course, the regressives work at these levels as well. They pre-program your minds in what to think. So there's quite, we would call it not a fight as such, but there is an interface between the different consciousness levels within those realms as to what happens in the outcome in your daily life. But you are very much involved with this. What you think you can do, what you believe you can do, um, is affecting the outcomes in your daily life. So as you see these changes have been created by you already, and you are experiencing what you have created. So here and now, as we're talking, you think that you are creative. You have the experience of being creative, might be painting. That's creative. But true creation is what you do with your mind, creating with source energy, albeit you still have source energy during the daytime. I'm not saying that, but you are creating at that level. And primarily, what you do on where you are at this conscious level is experience what you have created. So, in terms of what you are doing on these etheric levels, on these sleep levels, on these higher vibrating dimensions, is changing. Many of you are going to hubs where you are sitting in lectures. Your ability to reach some of these higher dimensional realms is through, we would call it enhanced pathways, so that attack or misinformation is being kept at bay. So your ability to reach some of these higher vibrating levels is enhanced. Your memory of what takes place is going to be very limited because of the forgetfulness program, because of the difference in vibration. But this is where real creation is taking place. And your experience of what you create, as I say, is going to change dramatically. I think most of that is kind of Robert's perspective on what I've understood and been told already. So we'll see what flows from anything else.
So That's really fascinating. So would I be right in the fact that when we go to sleep, as a summary, when we go to sleep, we are able to access higher dimensional frequencies or higher dimensional realms, and our consciousness will go into those realms and we will be able to interact with different humanoids. We're not calling, by the way, everybody, aliens, extraterrestrials, non-terrestrials. Robert and I have decided that we're going to call all off-worlders humanoids. So we have the ability, or we are at night time, interacting with different humanoid races of different vibrational frequencies that are helping us, talking to us, and we're interacting with them. One of my big questions on this is, and you brushed upon it very, very briefly, safe learning away from our current regressive influences. Currently, in this realm, we have an energy that suppresses us and controls much of our thought processes and what we create. Are we saying at the moment that when we're asleep, we are going somewhere where this regressive energy has no influence on us and is kind of helping us to break the shackles in a very controlled, slow manner?
Yes, that's a very good interpretation. When we talk of humanoids, of which I am one, and Tamady, there are forms of consciousness that we are as a soul that doesn't necessarily exist as a humanoid. The human form has been used as a vibrational expression with the amount of limbs and the positions of different parts of the body across different parts of this universe and other universes. So the use of the word humanoid is useful in saying that it's a program that can then be utilized to fit certain criteria, certain atmospheres, expectations, vibrations. Albeit there are other entities that are not humanoid as such, and that soul in itself does have non-humanoid experiences. When you're coming to some of these levels at night time, what we're talking about also is your multidimensional self. Because when you see another humanoid, what would you have perceived that as being in the past? An element of your higher self. So this would have been you in a higher vibrating body, because that in some ways is what you might have expected to see because of your perception, your 3D perception through self, superimposing on that energy, those vibrations, the idea of self, reluctant to see that you were anything else other than the person who you are, your name, your individuality, your perception upon that through that filter. So that filter can be changed to upgrade it to higher light bodies. So you would be seeing other vibrational levels of yourself. We can then upgrade that, of course, further to say that these other higher vibrational or different vibrational levels of yourself are also you in a vibrational form of existence, not just there as energy to waft and give you information. These vibrational bodies that you have are actually having lives of their own. Higher self doesn't sit on a cloud just looking down at you and trying to plan your future, uh, that's to do with a point of focus. Uh, Consciousness different to a point of focus. You know, you are conscious now of the world around you. You've, like me, I'm sitting in this room, conscious of the chair I'm in, of the birds singing outside, but I'm not focused on those. So those higher vibrations, yes, it's the ability to perceive them in a different way. If you were never told that these are multidimensional aspects of your soul, they are you, how would you perceive them? You know, and that's to do with spirituality, that's to do with religion and the way in which it's corrupted, expecting to see perhaps some deity, somebody else to tell you what to do or be. No, these are all aspects of yourself. Gary is an aspect of you, as am I. So perceiving these levels, perhaps in this way, as a broader spectrum of your idea of who you are and what you're capable of, then brings in, as we say, this change on those levels, which then changes the holographic imprints upon your experiences.
Very interesting. At this period of time, and I know time is not the same here as it is elsewhere. So potentially when we're asleep and we're in a different realm, we can actually be spending in our reality and our perception a lot more time out of body than the 8 hours of sleep that we actually got. That's a thing as well, isn't it?
As they say, time is relative. Relativity is a form of judgment or perceiving one thing against something else, relative of this, relative to that. When you remove relativity, duality is a form of relativity, the perception changes. There's no, the observation changes. So the appearance of time changes because time is very much part of observation. Between an observation of it, the working out what it is, what it means to you, how it's going to affect you as an individual, whether it's a threat, whether it isn't a threat, whether it's something nice to behold, is all part of the time matrix, if we call it that, that way in which to experience. So whilst earlier I talked about the experience on your earthly levels in the daytime, there are experiences here. So you will be experiencing your sleep at nighttime. And as Robert said earlier, the way in which you remember that, of course, is relative to what's necessary for your earth time experience. So these experiences in these realms are happening. But your ability to use your mind and create on these levels, again, is very different. So you can be there for ever. You can be there for no time at all. That's to do with perception and focus. How can you bring back that perception of no time into a world where time is every part of that world? So this is what we talk about, the ability for you to perceive through your current consciousness a different kind of consciousness that you have. And something that I was quite vehement in talking about the last time, I remember, of saying how important it was to understand your consciousness, your awareness, and how your consciousness works and how you use it. And again, this talk is part of that. So I'm very happy to to expand and talk along those lines.
One of the examples that makes it very simple to understand what was just been spoken about is that when we're having a lot of fun, time goes very quickly. And if we're having a day at work that's, oh my God, doesn't time drag? And these two concepts are very much not physicality, but they're a mental construct of the perception of. And when we go to sleep, it's no different. We have the ability in our sleep to change the amount of time we perceive it as in the learning space or having the experience that we're having before we then come back from our sleep period into us. So when we're asleep, it can last 1 second or 1 year or a million years. It makes no difference. It is what it is. For those of you who are film buffs, the film Inception, where they go to sleep and then they go to sleep within the dream of the sleep and time extends and then it extends again. And so there's different layers of perception that will extend our perception of time. I hope that makes sense.
That's a really good explanation.
Yeah. So while we're asleep, in these certainly these recent times where I think something has changed and has been changing for some period of time, are we experience an elevation of our consciousness, preparing us for now what is about to come?
Yes. And this kind of ties in with Robert's dream that we gave him. We gave him a prophetic dream of a grave in 2026 in a graveyard, leaves blowing over in an autumn time, which was not so much about the autumn, it was more about the fact that it was the end of a season. He asked us many questions about it. Initially, he was able to accept that it was a spiritual death and an evolution, but also then perhaps felt that things were changing so much and that the idea of self was changing so much and that the death of self was changing so much. He actually took that to be an indication of his physical death in 2026. We didn't stop him from that anticipation because of what then took place. He undertook different activities. He sorted his wills out, started making plans, started to live as if there was no tomorrow or not much left. And in many ways, if we could all live like that, and I say we, the royal we, the bigger we, that's living in the moment. That's not worrying about what's going to come, fearing what's going to come, living in the now, not having the fear, just allowing things to happen. So eventually that passed, and he was able to see that there was some necessary learning during that process, but eventually returning to the original idea that it was a change in 2026, a big uplift. Now, you've heard lots of people talking about different dates, different energies, different things. 2 nights ago, we gave Robert very, very firmly the date of the 25th of August. Sorry, July. And within that, we showed him a very bright light expanding and bursting. This white light, this energy has been building up or will build up during that process. And it will be an expansion in consciousness to the point that what was, I'm not saying that it will be the panacea of all things because it won't, but it's going to be a major jump in consciousness. It's going to be an awakening to the point that truth will be seen, lies can't be hidden anymore, fear will drop away. The control mechanisms will begin to fail. For some people, this will be a difficult period because they will really want to hold on to what they were and what they believed they were in their blindness. And some will carry on in their blindness. Some will have dysfunction. Some will have mental chaos, emotional chaos. Others will accept the change quite naturally, where they don't struggle with the idea. And of course, these evening preparations that we've talked about are part of the experience of that particular burst in consciousness. It's going to affect people in different ways. Those that are on the edge of being awake, and those that are more awake than others, those that have done more work on themselves. But that said, there will be those that won't need to do the same work that the others have done on duality or changing their ideas because of the mass consciousness effect, that there is a change in mass consciousness. So this is going to be an instantaneous change. How you perceive that change is down to your point of focus. We talked before about the doorway of looking through the doorway of wondering what's beyond, but actually then just stepping through and accepting what's beyond, because you can only really perceive what's beyond that doorway by actually going through the doorway, because you can't see it through any of those filters. So that's about the awareness you're going to experience in your own unique way. How that experience unfolds within family relationships, friends, work colleagues, and the world around you. So, yes, you're going to have to excuse me. Robert's just popped in. There's someone using a hedge trimmer, and it's just going through me at the moment.
You
So
can't hear it.
you can't hear it. Oh,
No, I've got jet aircraft and helicopters flying over me at the moment, and you probably can't hear
okay.
that either. And there's a dog barking his head off. So,
Well, I'm glad it's not affecting your consciousness. Okay. Does that, do we want to talk more about that? What that means for us in our daily lives?
yes, I think so. So what we're talking about is something that has been spoken about and seen by many, many people. You know, Isabella has seen on the crystal ball, certain she has, a white light, suddenly flash, and many people are seeing this white flash of change, or a solar flash. Many were thinking it's a solar flash. The sun's going to give a solar flash and change everything. I've always felt that the flash would come from within because the sun is an externalization to us, and the only way to change is internally, and everything is internal because we are the universe and the universe is us. And so, with our source soul connection, the only change can come from within. That's my always been my view of this. Um, so we're talking about some kind of energetic switch on almost of the mind that will be perceived as a flash, a hallelujah moment. A light bulb goes on suddenly.
Yeah. Can we take this by way of an explanation in a slightly different direction? Because we've talked about the origin of the universe, we've talked about information and source energy. But if you change the information, the source energy acting through the information creates a different hologram, creates a different environment. And in the same way, that's about programs going online and then source energy acting through those programs in a different way. So that the old programs, fears, not necessarily for everybody, and all of the chaos that's going to be going on around. But for many individuals, these programs just being de-energized because new ones exist. As I'm sitting here, I've got three elements of my dimensional soul with me, and a gentleman called Elanador, um, uh, quite a rumbustious figure, which you wouldn't really associate necessarily with a higher level spiritual being, but they all have different, not necessarily personalities, but yes, I suppose you'd call them different personalities. So I've got the three of them with me at the moment, and they're saying, all of you, if you could imagine a corridor, and as you look in that corridor, at the end of that corridor is just a sphere of light. You can walk towards that sphere of light slowly, methodically. And as you get closer, you are drawn to it. There is the feeling of inevitability. There is the feeling of no going back. There is also the feeling of death. There is the feeling of letting go. There is the letting go of fear. What is the letting go of fear? Is that a fear in itself? As you touch the fear and you are afraid to let fear go, as if to say that fear has been so much a part of your life that it has protected you, stopped you from being run over by a car because you are afraid of being run over. No, that's just awareness. Awareness of when another car comes along when you're crossing the road. You don't have to be afraid. That's superimposing fear and saying that fear does you something, that fear stops you from getting into trouble. Fear stops you from exceeding your boundaries, because if you exceed your boundaries, oh, what might be beyond there? Something terrible, something you don't know. Oh, be afraid of what you don't know. Stick to what you really do know. So here you are at this precipice. Will you have these thoughts before you enter this energy, before you become energized? In many ways, no, because these thoughts at these doorways have been worked through. This is part of the process, part of your nighttime education, if we call it that, your nighttime upgrading, allowing you to fully understand and to have an experiential experience on those levels of what that's like. So you know that all is well as you get closer. So as you go closer and closer, and you see the darkness around you dissipating, and you move into a sparkly sphere of light, you can allow that sphere to encompass you and feel its presence. You may feel the presence of other beings. You can see that sparkly light expanding like a universe in itself. Your consciousness that belongs to you, that is you, experiencing the world around you in a completely different way. What is your realm? No longer what you saw. You will see different things. You will see more love. You will see more joy and happiness. Yes, of course, there will be the chaos that goes around, but you do not have to engage with it. It does not have to be you. This is the transformation. It is you being something, not thinking about being something, not creating this, but experiencing what you have created. So it is a wonderful moment. And the way in which you perceive it, as we say, will be personal. It will be joyous. It will, in some ways, be like putting on a pair of old slippers. It will be a feeling of coming home. It will just feel quite natural. But the overall feeling is that there's less stress, less fear, greater cohesion between thoughts and outcomes, that what you think and what you can do and your experience of what you can think and do on those levels, of course, being a mirror of other vibrational levels as well, you can hear those vibrational levels working through you. You can understand them. They were always there. That communication, that vibration was always there. It's like people saying God was always there for me, but I couldn't hear him. Well, of course, we wouldn't use the word God. We would say you and your higher vibrational soul and level. Not an entity in that sense, a being like that. It's you, the acceptance of your power. And you will begin to see you exercising that power in your daily lives. Of course, as I say, it's happening in your sleep and your other higher dimensional levels where that information is coming to you. So again, it's omnipresent. So it's non-time. So it's still with you in your daily life. It's not just in your sleep life that you bring it here in some information. It is omnipresent with you. So the way in which you will experience it, the world, if we can describe it in that way. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. I had actually written down mass consciousness and holographic change, and that was actually going to be the question I asked. And before I was able to ask the question, you answered the question for me, which is superb because what we're talking about is there's going to be a mass consciousness change And this mass consciousness change will be a dropping of the regressive control mechanism that's been upon us, something I call the Fibonacci sequence. This sequence is going to drop from the control, and we are going to be able to change via our higher vibrational or higher frequency in love and joy, the holographic realm around us. And this will become a like a domino effect. We're going to see the dominoes spreading. As they spread, the dominoes are going to go out and out and out and out, and we are going to start to really change our present perception of Earth, who we are, how powerful we are. We'll then understand how we've been controlled, and we will step away from that control mechanism. Now, I wrote 5D down, and for me personally, the dimensional stuff really doesn't matter to me personally, but I understand the audience understands in our current construct of understanding the dimensional frequencies. I believe, this is my belief, that we were a 5D realm at one point. We had regressives come in, the consciousness dropped, we were controlled, and now we're breaking those chains and we're going back to where we were, which is, I think, when you're talking about with it's like putting back that comfy pair of slippers. It's the memory of, because we were once that and we're going back to what we once were, and that will then free us completely from this control mechanism. Am I correct in that summary?
You were, of course, higher vibrational beings. A marvelous experiment using the DNA, the vibrations from many different types of beings. And you were looked upon as a magnificent experiment with all the right criteria. And yet, many of you wonder why the fall of mankind happened. There were choices made by yourselves. Can you imagine your consciousness being so loving and all-encompassing and so aware that you allowed yourself to experience anything and everything and allowed others to experience anything and everything? But of course, in order to do that, it also meant you experienced manipulation. How could you know manipulation unless you were manipulated? So in some ways, we would see this as one of the bravest things to do. Bravery cannot exist without fear. If someone does a speech in front of a big audience, you might say, oh gosh, they're really brave to talk in front of all those people. But if they have no fear, they're not brave. They're just talking to many people. So I'm using your words and perhaps some of your innocence that existed in order, say in order, that enabled this to come about. But of course, the trouble with manipulation and the trouble with forgetfulness programs is you forget what you have done. You become of a lower vibration, not understanding what it is that you've done. But you do, of course, on your higher dimensional levels, and these are always there, even in your daily lives, trying to vibrate and explain, tell you, give you the information, but you've forgotten. So yes, what is taking place is a different vibration. You are returning to a different consciousness. We would say that third dimensional density exists in what is now for your planet a fourth dimensional reality, as does a fifth dimensional reality. That the two mix together. But it is a reality of consciousness. So you are moving into a different vibrational consciousness, a different reality. As we said, seeing the world around you with different eyes, seeing it without fear, seeing it through joy and freedom and experimentation, despite what else goes on around you. But the more people that see that this is the way that your realm is, I'm not saying can be. No, 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 no. It's not a question of can be, because that's the mind. If the mind says this can be, when can it be? It's not yet. It hasn't happened. We're saying it has happened. You are yet to experience the fact that it has happened. It's that definite. So 3D and 5D consciousnesses experiencing an interface between the two, which of itself is an experience and a very valid one. But the way in which you experience that interface is from a different perspective. You're not experiencing it from the perspective that you are at the moment, which is stuck more in some of the 3D consciousness corrupted thing of viewing through your current corrupted consciousness of what is. You can't see the 5D because of how you're perceiving it through your focus. It exists. So as that falls away, it becomes a reality. It is as it always has been. Has been always. Oh my word, that probably is another explanation. As it was, just an experience to fall. To allow. Somehow, as if to be born, take a plunge into a river, nearly, to touch the bottom with your foot, to know that you can touch the bottom, and to swim away from the bottom, except that the tentacles of the weeds hung on to you. But now you see that those weeds don't exist, that they have nothing to do for you, that there is other plant life, other things living within that realm as you move through it, but you are in effect going to move your heads through that water, and then you're going to walk out into a new landscape. So you're going to be experiencing what you've created and what will be.
So that new landscape, and again, everybody, this isn't going to happen like that. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to have to be a period of time as we adjust and learn and grow. Although the perceptions will change, it's still going to take a little bit of time to come in and for us to accept this and learn and grow and do this, in our perception of time anyway. It's already happened. It's already been done. It's a done deal already. So, and this is something that I've been saying for quite a while. We've already won. We won a long time ago. We just have to see the show play out in the reality before we can then step out of that current consciousness holographic reality into the next perception that we've created. And we're now about to start the new perception of the creation of the new reality that we are creating, that has always been there. We just haven't been able to see it, touch it, or taste it because we haven't known it was there. We thought it was there. We now know it's there. Big difference. So, the consciousness change of reality, um, will we be able to, and will we start to experience and connect to different humanoids, interact with, let's take it down to a level, interact with UFO craft and those humanoids that come out? Is this what we're going to start to physically experience within our consciousness realm currently, not just in sleep? Are we about to take this step forward in contact almost because we're changing the reality of our consciousness?
The ability to see things, to perceive things in other vibrating realms, you might consider to be a psychic attribute. It's just the word that you've put in front of knowing and seeing other dimensions and other vibrations. So as fear dissipates, as we says, as these old constructs move away, as these restrictions move away, there is a greater freedom, a freedom to see and perceive other things in your reality. There is going to be an increase in your psychic awareness. But it's about how you trust these things. If you put fear in the way of what it is that you're seeing, is that still a choice? Yeah, you still have those choices. They're not so prominent and not reinforced with the same energy patterns. The energy patterns have been diffused. So whilst they still exist, you might have that thought, recognize it. Oh, it's just fear. There's nothing to fear other than fear itself. Should I then fear seeing a regressive? Most often, when regressives are seen, they run from you because they've been seen. When you become light, that which is not light moves away from you. And most often, they cannot see you because you are light, not the true essence of you. There will be pushback, without doubt. That's why we say concentrate on your lives, your family, your friends, the living of that life, and being that world. Don't concentrate on what it's doing for the regressives, what's happening to them, what they might do for you. You don't need to focus on that. Don't need to put your energy on that. Let it happen by itself. Their energy won't be pulling from your energy. That's the old system. So this greater freedom that you have, learning to trust the information that comes through to you. Many psychics, when they go to circles or when they learn to trust what they see, trust what they think, and trust what they know. Some people who are born with many gates open know from an early age the knowing. They know things. They see things, and it's just a part of them as they were born. Others develop these attributes as they go along. So, in many respects, this is what's going to be happening for all of you. So, kind of go beyond the trust. Accept that this is who you are, your perceptions of the world, you are in a new reality, even though there's chaos going on around you. It's not your reality in here and in here. What are they going to do? Kill you? You're just going to return to the light again? They can't do anything more than that. That's the ultimate thing they can do, is return you to the light sooner than you would perhaps might wish to go. So there's nothing that they can take from you. It's only if you fear them that they have control over you. And death is nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, no, it's not. I agree. And we're talking about non-compliance, not engaging, not giving our energy into the old system. I'm aware of the time being about an hour, and so we try not to run too far over on these shows because of programs, because obviously concentration levels drop. But last point I want to emphasize, the Loosh farm that we have been is now ending. We are no longer going to be Loosh. We're no longer going to be fed upon. We're no longer going to have a percentage of our energy taken from us. That's going to change. And I'm correcting that statement, aren't I?
Yeah, it's different. That's the big change. That's the start, isn't it? It's the ending and it's the start. I have I haven't, and this is even talking as intimidate because I see no difference between Robert and myself. Of course, focus is something that we'd like to talk about. But I was aware of one of the questions as I skimmed through. I say, aye, because I'm here now. What really is the difference between Robert and myself? Only focus, only a perception of saying that there's a difference. Allowing in a conscious mind that can mix and flux as if it's all of these things. It's only from one perspective that it then sees it and superimposes it in a different way. But to be within that consciousness now, to see it from there, I will talk as Robert for it is no different. So one of the questions was, how can I make my life better? How can I live within this matrix and for things to be different? What techniques, what tools, what can I do to change these things? We may well have said, imagine yourself as a being of light. Imagine yourself as pure love. As often as you can, understanding why people do what they do. But come some of these big changes, not just the 25th, but come these big changes, you won't need to have different practices, different ways of doing things to be. You don't need to do to be. You will be it. And that's the big difference. Not hoping to be, not wanting to create, but accepting that's what it is. Experience it, enjoy it, live it. The more you do, the more of it comes in. The more comes in, it grows. Yeah.
That's really, really well said. And for me, a very, very valid point. these changes that are coming, we spoke about this previously on the consciousness and awareness show. The lock-ins happened. There's no going back. There is no back anymore. There is only going forward. And as we go forward, the shackles, the control mechanisms will drop from us naturally, and we will be able to perceive and see things that we currently cannot. I don't understand what they are yet because I have no frames of reference to express to you what they are. July was always going to be a massive month. Don't get hung up on the 25th of July as such, but if on the 25th of July we all get this lovely white light, this amazing sensation, wow, wow. And as they were saying, that's not the only thing. There will be other steps, there will be other stages coming up that will be just as profound.
Can I just say that that's important for Robert the 25th? It's also important for other people, but the cogs for everyone are slightly different. The cogs are intermeshing when that thrust on the gear moves through to the drivetrain is slightly different for each person. And as you say, the drivetrain will be different as you go up through those manual gears, if you want to see it in that way. So you're quite right in saying, don't get hung up on the 25th, but it is important for us as a soul, for Robert and ourselves.
Yeah. And it's not just one, there will be others coming up. There will be plenty of others coming up. And the thing is, we drop this control mechanism as we step away from this control mechanism. We'll get very desperate. It will throw everything it has at us because if the prime source of food and your existence is walking away, you're not going to be very happy. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Robert, and your multi soul selves. Thank you very much, everybody, for the contributions to the show. Really, really interesting. And we didn't even get to ask about how our sleep may change after this period, which is another question in itself, but we're out of time. So, with that, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Robert has a website, got it right this time. A
Yeah.
website, lots and lots of information on the website. He has a Facebook page and he has a YouTube channel. Please support Robert. He has two books free on PDF and he has copies in the physical if you like to hold a copy. Please contact Robert. Very interesting books. So, with that, everybody, thank you very much. And it's goodbye from me and
Bye from me.
bye, everyone.
Bye.